Hi, I'm Summer Smith, and the topic I signed up for is the greater than and less than comparison operators. So to start off, here's a basic overview of operators, comparison operators. Something important to note is that when you're using a compound operator, like here, it's like the plus equals or minus equals, the non-equal sign always goes first. Otherwise, you're going to run into some problems. So comparison operators are usually used to determine a Boolean value. Either the statement is true or false. Comparison operators often appear in if, else if, or for statements in regular code, and then they can appear in where statements in database queries. Comparison operators save us space. Instead of writing here, we can write out 6 is less than 7 or 6 is equal to 7. We can just write out in a compound statement 6 is less than or equal to 7, which in this case is true. A comparison operator allows us to make sure that data is valid. For example, last week we were told to add validation to our product discount calculator. So that's one place where you'd want to use greater than or equals. I didn't do this in my code, but I should have. You could have a discount percent of 0 if you didn't want your product to actually be discounted, but you wanted to make sure that that location got filled in. And I have an example of that code here. I'm sure yours looks a lot like this, but you just want to say, if it's less than or equal to 0, then send an error message. So there's that. Comparison operators also help us determine if we need to take an action. That's another example. So if you're waiting to retrieve data from a server, for example, and the server takes more than, say, 10 seconds to respond, you'd have a timer going, and if you hit, say, if it's less than or equal to 10 seconds, you can keep waiting. And if it's equal to 10 seconds or greater than 10 seconds, then you want to stop and notify the user that the session is timed out because you didn't receive a response. Otherwise, the website viewing or the client could be stuck waiting for a response from the server indeterminately, and you don't want to hang your website like that. Additionally, you can use comparison operators in our database calls to request certain data, and you would request to pull all the transactions where the discount percent is a certain amount, or the transaction total purchase is equal to or greater than a certain number. And these would be used in the where clause, as demonstrated here. Nobody signed up to teach the where clause, so briefly I'll just explain that it limits select statements to the rows that meet the requirements listed inside the where clause. If you want to read more about this, it's in our textbook on page 582 and 583. In this sample query, we are selecting 4 columns from the column table. I want all transactions from the year 2014 and later that are more than $1,000. So note that if we don't use the equal sign here, we won't get any transactions that happen on January 1st of this year. So you want the equals so that you actually get every single day in the year. And here, it's our list price. If you don't have the equals, you won't get any of the transactions that are equal to 1,000, only the transactions that are greater than 1,000. So you have to be really careful when you're using the equals and the greater than or equals to make sure you are actually using the symbol that you want. And I have an example of a database query like we did this week for exercise 3. So I'm just in my Guitar Shop 2. Oops, that's not right. Apologize. Oh, sorry. Come away now. So if we want to search for all of the price items that are priced greater than or equal to $500, this is how we do it. So let's go search our database. We get these 4 transactions. Not transactions, those are items, sorry. Then we can do that again and find everything else in the database for things that cost more than $500. Just a brief example of why the greater than equal to is important is right here we have a listing for $699 exactly. So let's say that right down here we change this and say anything greater than $699. When we submit that, we don't actually get the listing for the $699 item. I think it was Stratus something. So in order to fix that, we put our little equal sign, our greater than operator, and there it is, Friendo Stratocaster, that's what it is. And that listing pops back. So these are really useful. Just be careful with how you use them. And that's all I've got.